Hey, well, we were like 2 or 3 minutes late because I couldn't figure out the buttons or anything. Kevin Petersen, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I love the hat. You're looking good, pal.
Well, you know what? It's Family Matters. I think we took last week off because I was traveling all over the country. I was playing golf and then visiting treatment centers. But we're back. Family Matters every Thursday, 12 Eastern, 11 Central. What is it? 9 Pacific or something. I'm bad with time zones, but we do this for the most part, every Thursday. We answer your questions, ease your, fears, calm your anxieties. We got the one and only family whisperer, Kevin Petersen, and we answer all the questions. We'll answer them live. If you've got any questions and you want to put them in the comments, please do. If you're watching a replay, you can always put them in the comments, and we will get to them next week. And if you want, which most of you do, you can instant message, direct message, whatever you want to say, how the kids are saying it, Kevin or I. You can go to chronichope.us and you can creep Kevin directly. He's got all kinds of free resources. You can contact him directly, check out all the things he's doing. You're probably watching him on Instagram. He's got Kevin W. Petersen on Instagram too. I have not been creeping him for the last week. I've been slacking, so I'm going to spend the rest of Thursday probably creeping on his Instagram. So he's always got tremendous tidbits. Kevin, once and all, when we're doing this all over again, you ready?
I'm ready.
You got any burning desires or anything on your mind?
No, man, let's hit it. What do you got?
Jesus.
I'm ready, baby. Let's go.
Well, we got some really good questions. I think a lot of burning questions that are on top of my mind and a lot of the families that I work with. These seem to be a lot of the common questions. We get a lot of questions. We had a couple in the last couple of weeks with families, moms and dads reaching out. They're talking about aftercare suggestions. And so their loved ones currently in treatment, whether it is the therapist they work with outside or the treatment facility themselves, they're wanting to know kind of the purpose, the reasoning, of why this aftercare. They're suggesting kind of, transitional programming, sober living. They don't really go into specifics, but aftercare is always kind of, once they leave that inpatient 30, 60, 90 day, we highly encourage them to go to another step down program. Can you kind of walk them through the importance of that?
Sure. So here's the thing. When we look at the continuum of care for substance abuse, where we start off with is anywhere from 3 to 7 days and what we call detox, strictly medical, sometimes social, but there's very little engagement other than we're just here to help you get the drugs and the alcohol out of your system and get you to the point where you can actually be available for the next step, which is inpatient treatment program. And generally that's anywhere from 21 to 45 days, depending on your insurance, depending on necessity. What we're looking at there is you're living there full time. It's generally like a hospital style setting. And you are doing 40 hours a week of programming. By that, I mean individual therapy, group therapy, probably some experiential therapy, psychiatry, probably doing some recovery work along those lines. And that's what, when people think of treatment, that's what they think of. The next step, which is what you're asking about, is what we call PHP, partial hospitalization. And PHP can go from anywhere to 2 to 6 weeks, again, depending on necessity and your insurance. There's no direct answer. And then the step after that is PHP is can be about 20 hours a week. So now we're down from 40. And then the next step is IOP, intensive outpatient, and that is anywhere from 9 to 12 hours a week. And then the next step down after that is just regular outpatient therapy. Now, PHP, IOP, and outpatient, in a perfect world, it was up to me, Jay. If I had my way, all this, when we put someone in treatment, we would put them in for a year. And I know people are like, what? Oh my God. That's drastic. Well, the first 30 or 60 days are really the part that where we're going to really dig in and focus on things and make things happen. But then the next part, I would say anywhere from 90 days, 60 days, or 90 days forward, you're going to be living in a sober living environment, and you're going to be probably re-engaging with the world. And so maybe getting a job, maybe going back to school, sort of slowly balancing things back. Why do we do that? Why do I say that? Because all the statistics show that if we can keep somebody engaged in that continuum of care for 12 months, preferably actually 18 months, but 18 months, that's just outpatient. But living in a sober living environment, our success rates go through the roof. When we pull somebody out after 30, 60, or 90 days, they almost always inevitably come back. I think the industry statistics are, I think 70% of people relapse and end up have to come back to treatment. So in my eyes, I'd rather be proactive and say, hey, we're not just looking at a 30-day quickie. We're looking at a year-long engagement here of lowering levels of care and lowering costs. Long answer. Sorry.
No, I mean, I like it. And I think there's personal opinion. I think that there's been, kudos to, if this is a treatment center, highly encouraging, kind of step down care, because I think it's getting lost in translation here that the treatment facility is not really stepping in and stepping in and pushing, unless they have their own kind of step down program. Then shockingly, they're always, pushing. But I think the need here is the step down program and investing in that time. What I heard you say, and in my life too, is when I invested time to do year-long, year and a half program that I did, when I took the time, it definitely got me on the sobers, and it eliminated the times of going in and out of treatment, where I was wasting years. And instead of, and I wasn't wasting a year and a half, there was, for that final 7-8 months, I started getting a job, and I started getting more and more freedom. The leash kind of get longer and longer. The financial independence got longer and longer. So I think I wish, and I don't know the statistics, but I wish more and more people would be pushing the step down kind of programming, because 30 days isn't enough. Now, is there ever a time, do you see like where there's a 30-day or a 45-day where you would work with a family and you would allow them to come back to the family, come back home?
Well, each scenario is different. Each situation is different, depending on how the family's doing, where the family's at, does the family hold boundaries well? Are they in their own process of recovery? Or they're taking care of, is the house a safe place for the individual to live? Is the family willing to hold that kind of boundary? It wouldn't be the end of the world if somebody went to inpatient treatment and came home and we kind of created our own little IOP program. Mm-hmm. I don't recommend it because it puts a lot of pressure on the family. But I also understand some people are like, I got to get home. I got to get back to work. I got a job. I have a wife. I have kids. I have a husband. And I get that. So I was just telling you my perfect world.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I understand that each situation is unique and different. I will tell you that the people that fight it so vehemently end up going back 2 or 3 times.
Absolutely.
That's it. 33 years of experience. That's my experience.
I see it all the time. So, alrighty. So mom's drinking has gotten out of control. She's starting to isolate. So original mom, PTA, the coach mom sitting on the sidelines cheering. The original mom is now kind of, her drinking kind of now is keeping her in the house. And dad doesn't want anything to do about it. Doesn't want to talk about it. This is the sister writing in. 17-year-old brother now is kind of going unsupervised and is kind of going off the beaten track. So you got mom's drinking is now getting completely, it's been years, but according to the sisters, now is ramping up to a level that it's really, really bad. Dad's kind of sticking, without my words, putting his head in the sand. There's no problem. Doesn't want to deal with it. 17-year-old brother is kind of going unsupervised. So here's a sister who's out at college, probably early 20s. Her question to you, Kevin, is what's kind of her first step? Like, there's a lot of chaos going on.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that the first step would honestly be contacting someone like you or me. This is exactly the family that I start working. It's, let me be clear. At no point do all the members of the family get together and say, we should call Kevin. It just never happens. I mean, occasionally it happens, but very rarely. It tends to be one person making the initial contact and saying, hey, let me explain what's going on. Mom's out of control. Dad's off in la la land. And I got a 17-year-old brother that's starting her down the wrong path. And that's who I tend to engage with, whoever it is, and say, oh, okay, so here's the deal. Let's have our first appointment. Let's talk about what I do, what that looks like. How do we get the entire family in together? And I think it's probably not a bad idea to have a meeting with, you and the other players in the family system and say, hey, I have concerns and I want to be clear. I'm not an advocate for walking in and sort of dropping the nuclear bomb and being like, we're going to do an intervention. Slow down. I'm much more along the lines of, let's gather everybody together. Let's set up a plan. I call it Plan A, and we're going to put together some boundaries. Mom, we love you. We're concerned about your drinking. We'd like you to quit. And we want to help you quit, and we want you to try and quit for 30 days, and we'll help you. We'll get you a therapist, get you a breathalyzer. Do you need to see a doctor? We will provide you all the support in the world that you need. But that's kind of how we want things to go for the next 30 days. Now, if mom responds with, oh my gosh, yes, okay, let's figure this out, and honestly engages and tries, we'll put together that plan and make that flow. If mom's like, yeah, mind your own business. I'm fine. I don't need your help. Then we go to Plan B. Pardon me. Plan B tends to be more of the, well, you didn't respect the boundaries, therefore, here come the consequences. And we really, now we're going to sort of up the ante and say, the kids and the husband, and I had one recently where the wife said, if you don't follow through, I'm divorcing you. And I've already seen a lawyer. And I don't want to, but that's where we're at, and, he's in treatment. And that's sometimes, but you have to be that clear and concise. It's really about the family setting a clear boundary and then holding that boundary, and that's where people are always, the statements I always get, and I know you hear this stuff too. Oh, he doesn't want to go to treatment. Oh, well, people only get sober when they want to get sober. And I'm like, well, nobody wants to go to treatment. Let me be clear. We're not going to La Quinta. This isn't the spa, and people, the idea that people only get sober when they want to is kind of an archaic, old school belief system. And the truth is, the people around them can set boundaries and tell them, hey, look, I'll respect your choices, but if you're going to continue to drink and do drugs, I'm going to not spend time with you until you clean that up. However, if you want help getting better, I'll help you get better. But if you're going to choose to continue the way things are, I'm going to choose to step away from you. Yeah. So that's kind of how that first step goes. And we outline that whole process.
Yeah, and it sounds in this case, it sounds like you may have a little work with Dad and kind of getting him on board too. So that may be, Anyway, just reading that email and kind of reading it back to you, I can just feel the chaos. Kind of, I've been there. I caused it. I've been the tornado in the family, but welcome. It's that's why they say addiction is a family disease, right there. So
yep.
So we have another question. As parents, and this particular family, but I think just in general, this particular family has a loved one. I think 8 or 9 months sober, is I think currently in some kind of programming. They just want to know: should we have a relapse plan, and if so, what should it be?
Great question. And the answer is very straightforward. It's no different than when they first went to treatment. If they relapse, we just go back to square one. And and let's talk about what we're talking about here. Did they have a beer? They don't need to go 30 days of treatment. Maybe they just need to double down on their AA and, that sort of thing. If they went on a full-on bender and went crazy, then we probably do need to look at, some basic inpatient treatment and get that thing squared away and sort of figure out what they did wrong and go back to it. But what got them into the treatment in the first place, which is what I call the plan A and the plan B scenario, those never go away. And part of our system that we use is that we create sort of a relapse prevention checklist for the family and for the individual to continue to monitor this. By the way, that's going back to the first question is, aftercare. That's why aftercare needs to go for at least a year, because it catches this, and everybody knows it's transparent. There's no hidden agenda. It's like, oh, you relapsed? Okay, well, this is what's going to happen. And then the plan just goes into action. Very straightforward, very simple.
Yeah. Next question. I mean, this is top of mind with a lot of the families I work with. I mean, so this particular case is a mom and dad both writing in. Their 33-year-old son has got over a year sober. Is married. He's got a couple of kids. He's got a college degree. Is struggling to find a job in his field. I think it's, in this particular case, financial field. Due to his addiction, has got multiple kind of, I don't know, she never got into it, but she calls them multiple strikes on his record. This is an issue that we see all the time, whether in the rooms and stuff. So this mom and dad, I mean, they say like, so it's the mom saying like it's, they're kind of staying out of it, but they just know, just hearing son kind of talk about it, the son's feeling overly stressed just because he's got this mediocre job, he's got a family, and he's really kind of struggling to get back into the career that he once had that kind of tumbled, but is now slowly getting back on his feet. So there's multiple levels to this. I guess the question would be like, trying to get back into the field and like the steps, or how do you, coach, encourage, and, like it's there. And I would just tell everyone like it happens, but I'm interested to see your stance on it, or your coaching.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm sure we see this all the time in recovery, where a couple of things going on, right? People they get sober, and they come back to their life, which was more of a drinking-based life, and they're like, I'm not so good at this, or I don't like this, so this isn't what I want to do, or I'm not doing very well here, because it turns out when I'm sober, I have a different way of going about life, and it doesn't really fit into my old life. So, what I would say is through 12-step recovery, sponsorship, therapy, and maybe some career coaching, I would suggest some career coaching for this guy and say, hey, why don't you take some tests and meet with some career coaches and talk about what your options are, because he may not be doing the right thing. And, it doesn't mean he has to go back to the financial business if it's not working for him. And, who knows, maybe the workplace that he works is a pretty heavy party environment, or it's an environment where he's not completely comfortable with how they do business. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, but I've definitely had those experiences in my sobriety, where I was like, I can't do this, I can't be here. And, one time I dumped a job to take what I thought was a big money job, that I was going to be a recruiter. And within the first 2 days, they were like, so let me show you how we do business. And I was like, uh-oh. I can't do this. This is not above board. So I quickly jumped and found another job. but that's okay. Live and learn, And so I would say give him the support. Like you gave him the support to get sober, give him the support to look at potential career changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My personal experience, I can just tell you from and this may not be a popular, but I got sober with a bunch of men and people, accountability groups, and incredible successful men. And while in the circles and in the rooms, we talk about not drinking. We talk about recovery. When we go out for dinners and breakfast or coffees or something, I've never hesitated sitting around a dinner table or drinking coffee to soak up their business. Whatever, their experience or knowledge, and ask them questions. And so I'm not saying use AA as Indeed or as a resume builder, but I'm saying like there's people willing to help you stay sober, and that doesn't end there too. They will sit around, have coffee with you, and share their business knowledge with you as well. And if you really are good, like there's certain things that I did really well, and there was times when people said like, Jay, I don't think you are very good at this. I don't think and there's been times where I've seen it with me or whatever. Sometimes people say like, actually, I probably have an entry level in my job, in my company, or whatever it is. You can maybe get your foot in the door. Don't ask for preferential treatment, but you could possibly find your own path by soaking up the knowledge of people in their own recovery. So that's what I've done, and it's worked out masterfully. I like the career coach. I've always wanted to do the career coach. I just found out I got a lot of career coaching for free with my mentors in my men's group. So thank you, men's group. I hope you realize maybe I should pay you one of these days, but you guys helped me out considerably. But anyway.
Yeah.
But
same thing. I mean, yeah, by all means, hanging out with the guys in AA and recovery have always been a place where, you can sit down and talk with someone and say, can I ask you some questions?
Yep.
I'm really struggling with my career. That's how I decided to go back and be a therapist. I really didn't enjoy my work. I didn't enjoy what I was doing. There were definitely some weird stuff going on. And I sat down with a couple friends in AA, and they're like, I said, you were in your 40s when you went back to school. How did you figure that out? And they're like, well, and we talked about it. And that's how I ended up going back to school.
Yep. But like it was told to me, keep it around the coffee table and the dinner table. Do not don't put it in your shares at the meeting. So, right. Last question here is, this is a good one. So we have a wife, or her ex-husband is currently in treatment, a 30-day treatment stay. And ex-husband is wanting their 10-year-old son to come visit him while in treatment, and wife is looking for advice. Is this a good idea?
So my response is I would talk to the treatment team at the treatment center. I don't know the situation. I don't know how much engagement they had before. I mean, there's too many variables for me to say yes or no. This is one of those things where the wife should engage, the ex-wife, should engage with the people that are running the treatment program and engage with the therapist. And I would say to the patient and say, hey, before I can answer that, I need you to allow me to talk to your therapist and allow me to talk to your treatment team. And, if he was like, no, then it's like, well, then thanks anyway, but I would just say, hey, I don't think it's a bad idea, but there's just way too many things going on here for someone on the outside to make a snap judgment and then have someone say, well, Kevin said, and it's like, whoa, hold on. I'm all for a family unification. And how old's the kid?
10 years old.
The other thing I would say is I want her to look at the Hazelton Betty Ford Children's Program that's run out of Denver or Aurora, Colorado. They do it online as well. It's a 4-day program for kids that are engaged in a family where somebody's engaged in either, substance abuse or recovery. And it's run by therapists, and it's just for the kids. And if they need contact information, we'll post it up for you. But it's in Colorado. It's the Betty Ford Hazelton Children's Program. It is spectacular. They are miracle workers. If I had my way, just as I would say everybody needs to go to a year's worth of treatment, every kid would end up going to this program that is touched by substance abuse, because they do such an amazing job of helping those kids understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I sat in on an afternoon of one of them, and that just, I would do it every single weekend of my life. I mean, talk about, anyway. Yeah. Whew, I don't know how I got so lucky to sit in on that. And Casey Gooding, do you got Jaywalker Lodge somewhere around you?
Hey!
I don't have Jaywalker Lodge.
I don't know that Jaywalker Lodge does family programming, but I think he's responding to some of the earlier stuff when we're talking about long-term, and they definitely do.
Oh, yeah.
90-day
Jaywalker Lodge. I normally have some of their merch or their swag around me, but normally.
I do.
Anyway.
Wait, where'd it go?
See, normally I have it within reach, but I thought.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a Jaywalker Lodge hat, Casey. Just so we're clear, I don't have one.
I do, and it's on my golf bag, Casey. So I apologize, but it's actually one I wear. But anyway, Jaywalker Lodge, shout out to them out in Colorado. They've always been longtime supporters of both of us, so cannot say enough about them. So gonna have to fix that, Kevin. So
I would love that. And the beauty of what Jaywalker does, right, is they break it into 245 segments, like we talked about earlier. First 45 is traditional, more inpatient. Second 45 is more PHP, IOP, sober living. And then they have a great family component. They have a great clinical staff. And I just, absolutely believe in them 1,000%. So, yep. Cool.
See that? You make some comments and you get like a free promo on the Family Matters show. Unbelievable. So, yeah, pays to comment on the Family Matters show. But as always, we do this every Thursday. Kevin Petersen, the Family Whisperer. Once again, if I was anyone, a family suffering, or someone suffering, I would write a question in, because you got the Family Whisperer. Free plug. Let's go, Casey. All right. jaywalkerlodge.com. I'm sure. Go check them out. They have fun in recovery. I can tell you that. And it's a beautiful place.
Oh my God. So beautiful.
So I am going to be up there. I will say this. I'm going to be up there in July. I'm going to do the Rise training at Jaywalker Lodge. So wow is right. So anyway. So hopefully I get more Jaywalker swag. You never know. I got the socks. I got the hat. I got the jacket. I don't know if they have pants, but I could go all Jaywalker maybe. So anyway, Kevin, we'll do this next week. Always a pleasure. Have fun.
Highlight of my week, Jay.
See ya.